One of the things when we've talked about Brexit is the fact you can look at a lot of not just political revolutions, but revolutions in general. And there's a key theme amongst quite a lot of them. Not all of them, of course. There are exceptions, but in a lot of them, there are always the classic case of what is known as the zealots, the hardliners taking over. And effectively now, with Liz Truss in government and the cabinet that she has appointed, as long with junior ministers, and of course, Truss is now bringing in her own advisors. At this moment in time, I think it's like 88%, if not 88, between 85% of our government, round about there, I think it is now fully under the control of the ERG. For those of you who don't know the acronym, but you should know it by now if you've been following this, the ERG refers to the European Research Group, a group of Conservative MPs who for years were meant to be doing research on Europe under a very Eurosceptic brand, along with other things. Admonishing the size of not only the state, but the welfare state had gone out of control, and the NHS needs to be sort of pushed towards a private public health insurance model. These are the things that the ERG researched and is now almost in effect in control of our government. But before we go more into this, please do remember to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me a Coffee. I've said that twice now. And of course, the YouTube thank you button down below. And of course, thank you very much to all the people who do support the channel. So, what does this all mean? What does this all mean now that the ERG effectively has complete control of the government? Well, it effectively now means, especially under this massive majority that the Conservatives have, they can pretty much do what they like. And we have already seen so far from day one, Liz Truss is pretty much ideologically gunning it for these really right-wing policies of low tax, which not a lot of the people in the UK, if you look at polls about taxing, not a lot of people in the UK agree that there should be low tax, not only just for people, but for business and corporations as well, because again, it's all trickle-down economics. The idea that if you don't tax the rich so much, that their wealth will trickle down, down towards the poor's. But of course, this has been pretty much the economic program for almost every right-wing government, really going back to sort of the 90s, if not really going back to the 80s as well, hasn't really worked out. Hasn't really worked out at all. Capitalism has become really responsible for a lot of problems a lot of people face, not only just here in the UK, but around the world. And now we have a group of people who are insistent that these ideas not only should they be followed, but they need to be followed even more strictly. We've also got the ERG being massively in favor of mass deregulation. And this is worrying, where you've got Jacob Rees-Mogg being the new Business and Energy Secretary, because he's in charge of a swathe of regulations that businesses have to follow, such as workers' rights. We've got working time directive. Again, that's an EU law that's been brought over to the books. Tons of different regulations that he's now in charge in, and we've got to be very, very watchful of him in case he makes any move to start, shall we say, pulling out those scissors and start to, well, snip away at some of those some of those regulations. But could they fall? Could they be about to be hoisted by their own petard, by this almost this counter coup, or this coup that they've launched within the Conservative Party? Because within the Conservative Party that we've talked about a lot, there isn't just the ERG. There are numerous groups and groupings within the party that all have massive, massive ideological differences and policies that they want to pursue that are not the same as the ERG. One of the things and rises that we are actually seeing at the moment is the rise of the Green Tories who understand the need for environmentalism and the push towards things like net zero, because they can see the positive values of pursuing a net zero agenda. Chris Skidmore today, the former environmental minister, has gone on what he has dubbed his net zero UK tour. So that's certainly one faction that is going to push back against the ERG. You've got the Northern Research Group that is very much the banding and grouping together of all those red wall Tory MPs. The fact that the ERG is pushing the Tory party even to more right-wing policies is not going to go down well in these northern seats. So they're going to be pushing on the ERG very heavily. And that's just two of them. And there are many, many, many groups who are not happy and are already trying to plot the downfall of Liz Truss, because at the moment she's their person, she's their generalissimo in charge. With her in charge, putting all these ERG members in charge, giving them effective control of the government with such a large majority, they can do a lot of damage in 2 years, a lot of damage. And this is something we've got to keep an eye on. This, if we don't, and we don't fight back against some of these crazy policies we're going to see over the next 2 years, well, we've got a lot of trouble ahead in this country, a lot of trouble, a lot of crises, and a lot of crises that are going to be made by things like Trussonomics, the idea of them pushing for an even harder form of Brexit. If you didn't think that was possible, well, you ain't seen nothing yet. And we've got a lot of issues in this country, and they're only going to make things even worse. And, well, perversely, in a way, that will also work in a lot of people's favor. People will see that actually this right-wing nonsense has caused so much damage. Why did we listen to these people? And if that's one of the things that comes out of this, well, I suppose that'll be something good. A silver cloud, a silver lining to this ERG cloud that we've got, currently hanging over our heads. But of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.